Beautiful. Thank you to everybody on the community that is here live with us today and those that are going to listen to this later. These meetups are meant to give you guys a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of guidance, more context and conversation if you're here live, of course. And for those that are listening, rules are simple. Show up, be open-minded. If you want to eavesdrop, you're fine. If you want to have your camera on, you're fine. Live in the chat, you're fine. Either way, come as you are. Business has to happen. And we're just so proud to have so many amazing community members that are engaging and talking and sharing their stories with each and every one of us. So thank you for that. Our special guest today is Sue Graves with Experience Alive, and we're going to share her story in living and growing in the hospitality industry and taking community and making it a basis on business and what really got her to where she's going today and the trajectory she's on. Sue, one of the things we do before we have you kind of jump in and introduce yourself is we like everybody that's on the call with us to acknowledge who they are and share who they are so that they can feel committed to the conversation. And then you know who showed up to be here for you. So I'll lead that dance, of course. I'm your moderator, Adam Griggs. I am always so excited to share these conversations. And I absolutely love the opportunity. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jonathan Graziano with GoDaddy.
Hi, Sue. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Jonathan Graziano. I work as a marketing manager at GoDaddy. I've been a part of the GoDaddy community from the beginning, and it's just constantly amazing to watch it grow and to continue to have these remarkable conversations. I work primarily in engagement and social strategy and working closely with community. So I am very eager to hear this conversation and to hear what you have to say. I grew up in Western New York. So half the people I went to high school with went to Cornell to study hospitality. So I feel a little tuned in to bits of the industry, but I can only imagine what your life has been like the past few years. So I'm very keen to hear from you. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Sue. Nice to meet you. I'm really excited for your session today. I'm Patrick Kagan. I'm the founder of PK Solutions Group, and we specialize in sales and leadership professional development. And I just am planning on taking lots of notes today. So thanks for joining us.
Hello, hi Sue, I'm Amy B. I work in the data industry and marketing specifically, and I'm here with curiosity today. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Sue, you're one of the best for having that pleasant disposition and just excited energy all the time, coming from the hospitality industry and really doing what you do to connect people. And I love what you're all about with building community and being the super connectors. So why don't you share with us a little bit about your backstory and what got you to starting your own venture?
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Nice to meet everybody. Appreciate you guys being here. I spent, I've always lived a life of service. Even growing up, volunteering was something that our family always did. So that service just transitioned easily for me into the hospitality industry. I worked for Marriott Hotels and 5 different brands and executive leadership positions for 29 years, and then was tapped on the shoulder kind of to come to Columbus and help them navigate the $140 million renovation and expansion of the 17th largest convention center in North America. They were really struggling, and they asked me to come in and build a blueprint of operational standards and service and bring it up to 5-star hotel standards for the convention center industry. So it was a really fun opportunity. I kind of, before I left, I'm like sitting on the floor in my apartment crying, going, what am I doing? I've been Marriott, like I need to stay. But I had managed so many hotels. I'm like, what am I going to do? Run another hotel? I said, this sounds like, like kind of cool, jump in and go in and take care of something and bring people along with me. So I did that. And, we changed a lot of stuff, everything from building a new website to, installing a brand new CRM system and a whole bunch of other stuff just to improve things with the building. And people were really, they're like, can we do that? And that was the most exciting part for me is, have you guys ever thought about doing this? Because you have to bring people along with you. I didn't want to be one of those people walking in saying, we're doing this. Like you can't do that and build a team. So, they're like, that can happen. And I'm like, yeah, what if we did this? What if, And then I would challenge them. What are your biggest obstacles? How do we overcome that? Is there something we can do because is there a company that can support, fixing that? So anyway, over the course of the previous 5 years, we were, continuing to upgrade and build new standards of service. And we're voted #1 convention center in North America when I left there. And when I was there, near the end, I'm sure everybody has their COVID stories, but I was cleaning 200 bathrooms a day. We set up a 1,000-bed hospital that was never used, and turned our entire convention center into a courthouse. And for those of you that live in Columbus, you know what happened at the center. So just had to be on call all the time. And at the same time, my friends in the hospitality industry were calling me saying, I can't do this anymore. I mean, 85% or more of the hospitality industry was laid off overnight. And, you know, every single person I know in Marriott hotels was offered a buyout, all the way down to the housekeepers, just to leave because there just wasn't any business. I mean, just shuttered, and it's just really sad. So, you know, general managers, you know, were cleaning rooms and doing budgets, and I mean, all that stuff still had to get done. You know, walking around with tool belts, and they were just like, I just can't do this anymore. So, my heart, like, literally went out to the industry. I'm like, oh my God, here I am cleaning toilets. There has to be something better, you know? So I said, that was a trigger for me to say, I can fix the convention center industry and help them build a blueprint. I can certainly fix and enable modernization and create sort of this revolution for the hospitality industry. So that was my mindset and my passion. I went all in the last 19 months. I've interviewed almost 400 companies. I hopped on every meetup group. I went to every tech event I could. I just engulfed myself in every single tech story that I could be part of, and told people my story. This is what I'm doing. Can you help me? You know, are you a founder? Do you have, you know, an opportunity for your product or service to work in the hospitality industry? And I would help founders with their roadmap. And help them get to where I needed them to go to be able to work with me. So out of the 400, I literally, you know, handpicked about 25 that I work with pretty consistently. And what I do is I'm the conduit between the founder, most of the time, the founder, and the hospitality industry. And what I found is most of the labor solutions actually can work in any industry. So now I'm pretty industry agnostic when it comes to labor solutions. So I've been getting involved with healthcare industry, attending some of those events, trying to help those CEOs, because thought hospitality was bad until I went to a healthcare summit, and I'm like, wow, do they need help? So, so I can help a lot of people. I think my biggest obstacle, I tell people right now, is I can't get to 700,000 hotels fast enough. So if you can help me get there, then that would be great, because I have the solutions and I meet with people for free to share those solutions, and I build referral agreements with the founders. So everybody wins in my model. I probably win the least, but I'm helping, you know, I can win more when there's mass adoption. So I'm just patiently waiting for that mass adoption. But in the meantime, I'm helping a lot of people, and they're really happy. And it makes me happy to help the industry that I grew up in.
No, I appreciate that. Rising tide rises all ships, and sometimes it's in the middle of a storm, right? So
Yeah.
I can really understand where you're coming from with the history of what you do and why you do it, right? I mean, community is one thing. When you've got pride in your community, especially your local community, and you see somebody not just stumble but fall all the way down, if you're really an empathetic person and you've got this, you know, this energy and this capability, you want to help them back up, and you want to do it in the right way. And so you've been doing that. You know, they say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't teach it to drink. It's the same thing with the hospitality industry or anything else, right? If people are going to adapt and utilize different technologies, different ways of doing business, different reasons why we invite new labor forces or even referral partnerships, communities into our lives, we have to understand why. And that's why I love that you named your business Experience Alive. And I think that comes from your background in hospitality, because at the end of the day, it's not about somebody having a stay there. You don't brag about the fact that you slept on a bed. You don't brag about the fact that you got out of a terminal and walked back onto a plane, right? You brag about the events that took place, the people you met, the connections you had, and the reasons those existed. And I love that you're bringing founders along with you, because you've created this amazing business plan that really embraces your skill level in hospitality and these connections you have, and still gives these other new founders credence and confidence. And that's amazing. I think that right there is the power of a super connector. You're taking people to the water and you're showing others why it makes sense and why they need to drink it, because there's plenty of opportunity to be had. So I really appreciate you for sharing that with us. Yeah, your backstory is just incredible, Sue.
Yeah, thanks so much, Adam. I mean, it's really pretty fun. I mean, what makes my day, I think, is like like what made my day when, you know, when I was in a hotel and I'm like, what do you think? Do you think we could do this? And I did that at the convention center and people are like, we can't do that. There's nothing that exists out there. And then I find something, I'm like, what if something did exist, you know? So, you know, I mean, I was on a project. Accounting isn't my primary lane, but I know accounting because I studied P&Ls my entire career with Marriott. So it's a large enterprise organization located here in Columbus that, you know, has a really super diverse portfolio. They run marinas, condos, restaurants, convention centers, conference centers, et cetera, et cetera. They've got about 35 assets and they're still using QuickBooks. And there's nothing wrong with QuickBooks, but that's great when you have 5 assets. But as you expand, you know, and then they're getting into branded hotels like Hilton, and they just won an award for design for their Hilton out in Arizona. And the COO called me. I know her. She's a personal friend. She and I worked on the board together. And she said, you know, we really need help finding an accounting solution. And I'm like, okay. She said, you know, here's a couple that we want you to look at. Can you pick a third one? And I met with the team and they're like, we think we're going to probably have to use one for hotels and then one for everything else. So try to find 2. And I go, well, let's stop right there. I said, what I want you guys to ask me for is, what do you want me to find for you? Oh, okay. Well, we'd love to have just one solution, but we don't think that's possible. I'm like, well, stop right there. Back up and just start with, we'd love to have one solution. That's our goal. One solution for all of our assets. And I'm like, okay, so let me see if I can find one. So I did find one for them, but I think the important thing that you're talking about is like, people have these like internal stopgaps. I don't know where it comes from, but like, I can't achieve this because I know there isn't a solution. Instead of saying, I want to achieve this and let me find a solution, or let me create a solution if I can't find one, you know? So it's just, I think it's a matter of perspective, right? Like what do you think? What do you want? You know, and as soon as I phrased it that way, what do you really want? Well, what we really want is one solution. We don't want to learn 2 accounting systems. So yeah, I found one for them. They haven't instituted it yet. They hired a new corporate controller and bringing him along, but they probably will institute the beginning of the year. But it was just fun to get together with the team and kind of help change their mindset about what can be done instead of what can't be done.
Yeah, and you did it through curiosity and conversation, right? You didn't dictate to them and tell them how they need to do it. You created this confidence in you as a person and your ability to find solutions. But it's more than that. When you're in a community and you've connected with people and you've really shared what you do and you're really being honest in your endeavors, you become this awareness vacuum, right? And so people start to become more aware of where and how they can make changes in business. They can make confident decisions to move forward and align with you, where others might have been afraid that you're going to steal their idea or whatever else, right? Because we have so many problems as entrepreneurs. And you said it earlier that you're still waiting for your business to really take off. And I think that that's important to focus on too, right? You're out here helping these founders, helping these companies challenge themselves and find solutions. And if there isn't one, be curious enough to try to create a solution. And this, you're an awareness vacuum that's really creating this. And you're still in the throes of business yourself, Sue. And that's amazing because, you know, hospitality is a stressful industry, right? You're taking care of people's needs constantly. And often you're not really taking your own needs into consideration in that industry. And you now, as an entrepreneur, you're doing both. You're balancing both of those. So I'd love to hear a little bit of how you not only challenge others to be more curious, right? And be aware that there are solutions out there, but how do you balance the fact that you're trying to scale your own business while being the super connector, while helping others? Can you share with us a little bit about what you do for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's no 2 days are alike. And you know, I can't say that I don't have a bad day, but then I just go hop in the pool and swim and get it all out, and then I'm good. And so for me, like exercise or some way to, you know, let off steam, so to speak. Some people run, some people, you know, and I swim. So, you know, I love creating challenges there as well. But I think for me, it's like, you know, number one, being authentic. Okay. Like everybody struggles. And if you're looking at somebody and thinking they have the perfect life, I'm telling you, there's something in the closet that you don't know. Nobody on this planet has a perfect life. Okay. They might for a day or an hour, but at the end of the day, we're all human and we make mistakes and we need help. And what a lot of people fail to do is ask for help. And so, one thing I try to do is when I meet with other people is I say, I first ask, how can I help you? I had a breakfast meeting with a lawyer today. Like, why am I meeting with a lawyer? She's an IP lawyer. What in the world would any type of connection come out of there? Well, she does IP law for founders. Well, if her founders can somehow, she could connect them to me, that might help, right? Then what can I do? But I asked her first, I said, how can I help you build a community for IP? I work with founders. Those founders need, trademark, copyright, IP consultation. And some founders might not have found somebody yet. And she's like, well, that's how you can help me. And then it's just like, I don't know, it's just this kind of like law of reciprocity that just exists between humans. Okay. It's not even said. So she turns around and says, well, how can I help you? And then that's when I said, look, if you have, any connections with founders that are looking to, increase the value of their asset, connect them to me because I can help them increase the value of their asset by a lot of money. And, nowadays, PE firms and VC firms, they're buying hotels to flip them. They're going to earn and flip. It's not this, buy and hold thing anymore. I mean, there's no more 50-year contracts. I mean, when I started with Marriott, there was literally 50-year contracts, and this was just normal. This is not normal at all. It's buy, flip, churn, and burn. So you got to make money, and I can help them make money because I know how to do it, and I know what the business. I was in the business long enough to know where the pain points are, and that I found solutions to fix those.
I love the way that you share that because you're leading through contribution, which so many of us have tried to do. And there's a reminder here, by the way, in communities that you're really doing this as a super connector like you, Sue. If you're leading with contribution and they don't offer reciprocation, they probably don't belong in your community, right? Or you did something wrong and maybe you should second guess what you were doing, right? Was it an actual offer of generosity, or were you being, ulterior in motive? But I love that you're building in that way because the heart is a muscle that's built through collaboration, right? We build on each other, and it's something that just can't exist on its own. And so many of us wear our hearts on our sleeves in business. And if you're going to surround yourself and make community the basis of your business by leading with contribution and creating this awareness of your own skill set or what you can do for others, you've got to have that community that you can trust. And you've said it right there. It's Carmageddon. People are good. If you do well by them and they return the favor, you're in a good community. And that's a good way to judge that. So I really appreciate you for that.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, there's been some just really strange connections. I mean, I don't even know how this happens sometimes, but like I was in Las Vegas at the hospitality show. Well, first of all, before that, I'm in Charlotte at an American Hotel and Lodging Association event, and I meet this developer, and we're on a half hour whatever connector break, and a lot of people stay with their own tribe, right? Well, not me, because everybody's my tribe. So I'm mixing and mingling with people, and I find this developer. I'm like, you develop hotels, talk to him about that, and he's like, well, if you worked in the hotel community so long, you probably know a lot about different brands and you've got connections within Marriott. I go, yeah, I still do in the development community. He goes, well, we're developing this community. He hands me this flyer. It's mixed use development. We're looking for a hotel operator. Do you think you could help us connect? And I'm like, well, I can try. I mean, I have 29 years with Marriott. I can certainly try. So reach out to a guy that I had met with Majestic Hospitality. They do they do branding, they do marketing, and they help find operators for developers. And, I contacted him first and Solomon, and I'm like, Solomon, I don't know how we can work together. He goes, well, look, we develop. So he goes, 2 years from now, I can help connect you, but it's going to take time. We got to build the hotels before they open. And so I remembered that I had met Solomon virtually through LinkedIn, and we had a virtual call. He meets me in person out in Las Vegas. He just happens to be going to the Las Vegas show. I meet him at a coffee shop. I was late because it's at the Venetian. The Venetian's huge. They got like 6 coffee shops. He didn't tell me which one. So he ends up having a conversation with a guy next to him called Friday, like Friday, only it's HRIDAY. And so anyway, I show up at the conference at the coffee shop. He introduces me at Haride. Haride happens to be relocating from Texas to Columbus, Ohio. Like, how does this even happen? So tells me about he's a founder of a company, and this company and he's out there because it can help in the hospitality industry. So I meet him. So within 1 week of him moving to Columbus, of course, I give him all my information. I said, look, as soon as you get to Columbus, I'm gonna set you up with all the meetup groups that I go to. So within 1 week, he was in Columbus 4 days, and he's already at his first tech event at Brewdog. So then I sent him. Then he was at 2 events with me this week, and now he's pitching to Lowe's Hotel. And I'm going to be helping him at 1:45. I'm going to reviewing his presentation so that he can speak in hospitality terminology so he can win this account. He wins this account with Lowe's. So last night he says, when I win this account with Lowe's, he goes, I'm going to bring you with me. I mean, this is not something I asked him to do. This just happened. So, I mean, he's going to win it. And yeah, I mean, if he brings me with him, that's great. But if he doesn't, I mean, but I think he will. But the point is every single person on this planet has a connection to somebody or something if you just look for it. I mean, we have stuff now that we didn't have when I was growing up, but LinkedIn, you have the name of the college they went to, you have where they work. Now you have all the connections that are connected to you. I mean, it doesn't take a lot to really find and make a connection with somebody in some personal way that's meaningful, that just drives an automatic connection, whether you went to the same college as them or whether you grew up in the same area. I mean, I met a guy, I grew up in Detroit, a guy standing next to me last night. He says, yeah, I grew up in Detroit. I go, oh, go Wings. And he goes, and he pulls out a keychain that has a Red Wings logo on it. I mean, this is just like natural conversation that you would have, but like the connecting isn't that hard. It's a matter of you have to be confident enough in yourself to approach people and just become part of the conversation. I mean, I just walked up and started listening. I mean, I think the most important thing is be a good listener and then listen to where a connection can be made based upon what they're saying. As soon as he said, I'm from Detroit, I'm like, oh, there's my connection. I mean, it's not that hard. Sometimes it's harder than others, but most of the time it's not that hard. So it's just fun.
It is fun. And the way that you're approaching things with a mindset of possible at the beginning of every conversation, I think that's the game changer when you're in a community. And Sue, you do things a little differently than most, by the way. And she hasn't really shared this with you guys yet, but she usually sits down and she will grill you on what you actually are doing and who your best client and audience is. And she'll start talking about where you came from, why the idea exists, why you validated it. And then she goes out and she's got the radar up, right? Even though you might not be working directly with Sue. And I love that because you just explained this amazing possibility that came out of just random business and connections. And I can't tell you how many times I've been walking through an airport or a different city and just saying the letters IO has opened a conversation for me because I'm wearing an OH shirt, right? It's one of those weird things where if you start with the mindset of possible and you're not really looking for something that's going to be immediate and done and needed for you, you can actually explore and create and build this amazing community where you can be a super connector. And I love that that's what you're doing, Sue. So I appreciate you for sharing that story. And then of course the mindset of why and how you do it. And I think that's powerful.
So Adam said possible, and you said a couple of things. I loved your approach to the internal stopgaps of that group you were talking to, because you were asking, they were telling you what we've tried, and you're saying, what do you want? What's possible? And really what you're saying is, no, don't tell me what you've done, tell me what you want. And I love that approach. I just wanted to compliment you on that. And then I heard, I think Adam said you had summarized yourself as waiting for your business to take off. And I was writing down a summary of what I thought of you. And I believe that I wrote down purposeful in your flow. And, people talk about go with the flow, and you seem very purposeful in the fact that, like, not that it's all going to work out and I'll just randomly find my way. There's a purpose in everything you do. But you mentioned LinkedIn and the connectivity we have nowadays. And how many times do you find someone that sees your post and they connect with you, and then you get a sales pitch and there's like, it's just so off. And it will come, and you're purposeful in the whole go with the flow. And I think that's a lesson everyone can take, is that, like, give a minute to connect, see how it unfolds, and that's something that, when I hear people say, well, I'm waiting for something, many times they're stalling or procrastinating. And I don't believe that's what it is. And what I admire most, if you are truly waiting for your business to take off, is that you have your eye on the prize. You know what it will be when you get there, and
Yeah.
you're patient with the people around you helping you to get there. So not really a question as much as a compliment of what I'm seeing and hearing. And I think that, we can all pull some lessons from that. I certainly can myself. So
Yeah. Thanks, Patrick. It's not easy being a founder. I mean, yeah, I'm a one-woman show, a lot of us are, right? In this
well,
call.
it's easy, like you say, as a one person show. You can get in your own head, and you can, while you're waiting to land on the moon, you can question the flight you've taken to get there, and you can start changing a bunch of things up, and you get nervous and you get in your own head. And I think that's why these communities are so good. And just hearing you, it's reassuring sometimes when I have my own show, and I think I'm doing it right, and then you can have that panic button that you want to hit all the time. And it's just it's refreshing to hear that, and also refreshing to hear that your first question is, how can I help you? That's a very basic thing that I think we overlook.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of for some people, when I say that, they like kind of get taken aback. Like they're like, I didn't ask for help. You know what I mean? Like they didn't ask me for help, because that's part of the problem, right? Most people don't ask for help because they don't want somebody to know that they're struggling. It's just, I don't know, human nature. You don't want to don't let your guard down. Don't let anybody know, what's the commercial? Don't let them see you sweat. You know what I mean? Like, so, everybody wants to put this persona on that everything's perfect. And, I'm all about, hey, it some days aren't perfect. I had a bad day, or, but it's going to be better tomorrow. But I think for me, part of what helps me overcome some of this stuff is my own personal goals. So this might sound a little unusual, but that I have personal challenges that help me overcome some of the bad days in my business challenges. So Adam, you know this, but I just finished the Mackinac Bridge swim. It was a 5-mile open water swim from the Lower Peninsula to the Upper Peninsula. And I trained really, really hard for it. But, the week of the event, there's no more training. It's all in your head. It is all in your head. It's all about positive talk. It's all about, I don't care how rough it is. I don't care how rough the water is. I don't care if there's a freighter that's coming and we get red flagged. I don't care. I'm going to make it to the other side. And you just have to just keep, one foot in front of the other, in this particular, one stroke at a time. And sometimes that reality of being in the water and just saying, I'm getting to the other side, and just keep going. It could be slower. Doesn't matter. You're still moving forward, and you're going to finish. And so, what I do is I kind of parlay that over to my business. So when I'm struggling, I'm having a bad day, I might be going backwards. Well, I can tell you, I felt like I was swimming backwards because it was against the current the entire way. And I'll tell you, when I got to the St. Ignace side, I felt like I was going backwards. I thought I was going back to Mackinac City. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm moving. But I just kept going and going and going. As soon as I saw that tunnel and turned into that tunnel, then the big American flag you swim for to get to finish, hanging off the fire truck ladder, I was like, I pounded it to the end. It could have been 6 miles. I sprinted to the finish. So the point is that sometimes your personal goals overlapping with your professional goals can kind of help you overcome some of the challenges we have just in our business. Because at the end of the day, how many people are, in the Olympics, or just have weight goals, or have, all these goals. But if you can try to stick to those personal goals, that also helps you stay with your professional goals. And that's what helps me keep moving forward.
Yeah,
So
that's so.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, no, I love that you shared that. Honestly, I was really hoping you were going to share that, because like that is the best metaphor for business ever, especially being in a community. Because yes, sometimes it feels like you're out there running the race alone, and sometimes it feels like it's taking forever. A lot of times we're treading water, right? At the end of the day, we're just trying to stay afloat. But when you start seeing that finish line and you feel that confidence and you can share that with your community and the people surrounding you, and that camaraderie comes full circle and it re-energizes you, and you know, all right, now we're going for the next one and the next, right? It's the next step. And I love that you do that, because business is difficult, right? It is.
Yeah.
No matter how great your idea is, you're going to have ups and downs.
Yeah.
There's no questions about it. But getting back out there and continuing to put in the effort and the work, that's huge. And you know what? Leading with contribution and helping others first is a fantastic way to do it, but it's also a double-edged sword, right? So you and I've talked about how you really bled for another association to help get them going, and that came to a very
Abrupt end.
abrupt end. And we will get into the whys or whatever, but you're still in business and you're still in an effort that's leading with contribution. You're still building community, because at the end of the day, your heart's in the right place. The people that are around you are more than just business owners. They're humans, right? They have their own goals, lifestyle. And we love sharing those moments. We love being part of that story. And that's why I think you're such a powerful super connector. You've connected me with so many people in our short history together. And I've learned so much just because you've helped create that concept of possible, that awareness that there are other people out there doing other things that are very, very exciting. And yeah, we've got to still have our business and our on mind, and we still got to take care of our mental health and our own personal needs. But you're right, they've got to coexist, and there's reasons for that, and we can get into that in another call. But I really appreciate you for sharing that and sharing your story, because I think coming full circle, you coming from the hospitality industry and having that disposition to give people an experience, right, has really, really, really shown merit in your business and why you're doing things that you're doing, why you're being this connector, why you're bringing founders up, why you're creating awareness and possible and curiosity at the end of the day. And your community is better for it. We're better for it. So thank you for that. And I know we're getting close to the end of our hour, Sue, but one of the things we always like to do in our community here on this meetup is we always open it up at the end anyways for comments, kudos, and questions to the members that are here live, because we want to connect with you. We want to continue the conversation and we want to grow. So I'd love to open it up to anybody that's here that wants to share any comments or kudos. And before I turn it over, Sue, congrats on that swim. I know that was probably so ridiculous. I can't even imagine.
Harder than I thought, man. Friday when I got in the Mackinac side, I was like, wow, it's really a great day today, and the water's calm. I think I could do this twice. Saturday morning came in, I saw the white caps, the wind was going, and the announcer goes, remember, you signed up, you're gonna earn it today. I'm like, that's how we got in the water. I'm like, great. But hey, it was fun. Made it that much more rewarding knowing that it was tougher than I thought, and I finished. So yeah, it was good.
I have a question. I also have two questions. So the first is, I'm always very curious to know how people got started in what they do. If there was a particular catalyst for it, if it's something you've always wanted to do, if it was an experience that you had in any capacity. Did you grow up watching someone who was really great at building communities? That's my first question for you. And then my second question for you is, and I know you've talked about swimming a lot. You've talked about swimming a lot, and open water swimming is it's no joke. That is not a feat of athletics. That is a mental, you said it, the whole week before, it's so much more of a mental thing than a physical thing. And so much of building communities and putting yourself out there is much more of a mental thing than it is anything else. Having the confidence in yourself to do something that others might not be able to. Do you see a correlation between those two things? And if you do, are there any strategies that you can give or you can acknowledge that might be a great way for people to sort of introduce themselves to those kinds of concepts?
Yeah, so first question, let me try to answer this one. This is actually kind of a funny story. It's not funny, but it is. But my dad was in the advertising business, so we were always around. We were in commercials at a very young age, and he probably was violating child law stuff, but we were always around a lot of people growing up. We were, my mom and dad were great parents. There was 4 of us. We were on the swim team when we were young, and my mom just, she grew up as an only child, really struggled with 4 kids. There was 4 of us in 3 years. I'm an identical twin. So we were shipped off down to the park for the day and, went down at 6 a.m, swam for, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then we weren't allowed to come home. So we would, we were signed up for tennis and, so talk to the tennis instructor. We were always around a lot of adults and kids, but you kind of got to figure stuff out at a really young age because you're down there, you got your sack lunch, peanut butter and jelly every day. And, other than that, you're running down the dock, grew up in Michigan, so a lot of water. My brother fished all day. So, we just were constantly hanging out with people all the time. So I don't know if that was a catalyst or not, but always wanted to kind of, and then we volunteered with the church. We were always in the crop walk or, we always were volunteering. My parents signed us up to volunteer for something. So always around people, always in a kind of a giving type way, and meeting new people all the time. So I guess you could say that might've been a catalyst. I've never really looked back and thought about it until you asked me the question. As far as the second question, so hopefully I answered that one. The second question, the second question, as far as, kind of, I guess mixing that sort of business goals with personal goals. Hopefully I got that.
Those mental hurdles, those mental hurdles.
So like, I don't know, there's a sense of accomplishment when you have a personal goal and you achieve it. One of the things we got, which was really unique, is we got a piece of the bridge, the Mackinac Bridge, as our medal, and it was handcrafted. And I carry that with me because when I'm having a bad day, I pull that medal out and say, look what you did. So I think so much of our life, there's so many people that are struggling with mental illness. And I think a big part of that is because a lot of people right now just do not have personal goals. And when I say personal goals, they're wandering around in their head, or they don't know what they want to do. And I think if you get direction and you have goals, your head goes with the goal. I knew that, first of all, you had to time a certain time to even be in the race. So I worked hard to get to that time so that I could be in the race and qualify. So that was first step. Okay. So that was like a huge accomplishment. So you feel good about that, right? And so what does that do to you mentally? Inherently, you're already building your confidence along the way just from your personal goal. Well, you're the same person. So if you're achieving stuff personally and meeting these little steps along the way, I signed up a year ago, like 9 months ago. I've been training for 9 months in the gym, lifting, swimming, then in a lake, just trying to get to open water as much as possible to swim. Which I had drove up to my parents' house to do that, and swam in Lake Huron, and just to build my confidence. The day before the race, I swam in Mackinac City side, 15 minutes, swam in the St. Ignace side, all that to build my confidence. Because at the end of the day, you're going in. You signed up, you're going in. There isn't any step backwards. So if you think about moving forward all the time, you got to do that in business. And people that pause and pause and pause, it's just do it and know it's probably not going to be perfect, but you're doing it. And so launching a business, if, sometimes you can do analysis paralysis, and it's at the same time you're launching a new product. No matter how many times you put a product out there and say, test, 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 you could test 150 more times and you're going to miss something. So test it enough where you're confident to put that thing out on the market. And then have somebody like me pick it up and go, hey, what have you thought about this, this, this? I literally last year, in a half-hour conversation, I could help give a founder 6 new ideas to make their product better in 30 minutes. I actually wrote down how many helpful hints I gave to them. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? They're like, well, we have a board of directors and nobody brought this up. And I'm like, well, are they in the hospitality industry? Do they run hotels? So they're like, well, yeah, they said they did. I'm like, well, just try it. Bring this back to the board. And so just helping people get to their goal, I think also kind of helps me get to my goals. When you help other people get to their goals, you will get to your goal. That's just, I don't know, just the way it works.
No, it's a great, anyone who heard that will take something away from that. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that question, Jonathan. I have a mentor that I grew up with that he used to say the most dangerous thing you can be is a wandering generality. When you don't know what you want in life, you're susceptible to anyone and anything, and that's powerful. And I think, Sue, you've expressed your goals overlapping in business and personal. That's powerful, and I appreciate you for doing that and sharing that, because that's part of community. So again, thanks, Johnny.
Nice to meet you, Sue. It was really nice to listen to your experience and your story. I think one of the things that I appreciated was something that was similar yesterday. And when you talked about the IP attorney and, how you were able to, really just start with the relationship and then go from there and see how you can help each other. And I met with a gentleman yesterday in a completely different segment. I'm in language access services. I'm a certified medical interpreter, and I provide language interpretation, translation. And I had a friend of mine who works with me in the marketing side recommend a connection through LinkedIn. And on the surface, it really probably wouldn't be anything that I would normally even associate. But again, because my friend knows both of us, it was a great phone call. It was like 30 minutes. And I was able to really run by what I was looking to do from a recruiting standpoint, something that I'm really unfamiliar with, from providing that service specifically with this accountant and someone who has a proven track record and successful. He sold his company, and he did a similar model for his accounting business. And I learned so much. One is to never turn down those opportunities that seem disconnected just because of what you said, which is the relationship. And the other part of that is the importance of running something by someone else that you may not necessarily choose to give you feedback. And I think, that was something that that resonated with me, because I think that's something I need to do more of as I kind of grow and expand my services. And I agree. I think, I think it was Patrick that said, we get the connections, and then like it's the automated response of, the pitch of everything that they want to present to you. And it's very mechanical. Whereas I do think that the more we can just start with the relationship, it always ends up becoming and blossoming into something that's much better than what we think. So thank you. It's been a pleasure. Just wanted to kind of say hello and give you my 2 cents, but it's great to be able to connect and listen to Adam as well. He always does a phenomenal job with, his hosting and facilitating. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I think that was a great way to really round that out, Johnny. And I really appreciate everybody that shared their comments. And Sue, before we kind of close this out, since we are at the end of the hour, part of a community, right? We want to continue this connection conversation. We want to elevate you and give you some awareness and right, discover our own possibilities and hopefully align. Where can we send people that are here together and listening to this later to connect with you? I mean, is LinkedIn the best place? Is your website? What's best for you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best way to connect. I'm on LinkedIn every day for several hours, connecting with people. So yeah, I think LinkedIn is the best way to connect. Yeah, that'd be great. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing your story today. And Experience Live is going to grow and do great things. You're leading with contribution. You're asking people to really discover what they actually want, which is curious. And then everybody's learning their own version of possible. And that's the beauty of being in a community. So thank you again. And thank you to everybody that attended today. And of course, being part of this conversation. You guys mean so much to all of us. And these would not be as amazing and wonderful as they are without you. So thank you.
Thank you, Adam, for hosting a great show. It's nice to meet everybody, and I look forward to connecting with each one of you. We can help each other in some way.
Perfect. We'll see you guys all in the community.
Take care.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Have a great one.